So since the intuition of Jerry Seinfeld said the more something is bad, it's actually good, and that's kind of true. I had the worst idea, so I'm going into the center of town to propose it. So you know how people are they can pay money and then get a star license where their name is now a star if they get the license to pay for it. There is space trash that is orbiting Earth. Yeah, this has been going on since the first time in space. A lot of space trash is orbiting Earth. So much that there are probably some specific trashes that have been orbiting for a long time because they're so well kept, because they're, you've got to pick up the litter. No pun intended, where some of it is probably in really good condition. What if you could name a piece of trash orbiting Earth after someone, if they got the license for it and paid to register it as their name? But then I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if it was like you could do that for a white trash person? And I was thinking, that's kind of mean. Or a step further, if you could name a space trash orbiting Earth after a garbage baby. Now that's terrible, because the garbage baby is, of course, someone who throws the baby inside of the garbage and forgets it. And that's terrible, I know, but that's actually what Moses was. Moses was a garbage baby where he got thrown into the Nile River. And so, if we respect Moses so much, I'd say we should respect any garbage baby and name them after a piece of trash that orbits Earth. And why would you do this? Well, there's a reason why I'm even thinking that thought, is if we could locate every piece of space trash and have marks on it, just as astronomers have a star map, where you could have a map of all the trash orbiting Earth and be able to calculate trajectories, which they all are on as they orbit. And what you would be doing is this: how there's meteor showers that go and they burn up in the atmosphere. They have to pass all the space trash in order to reach the atmosphere. So when you have all these collisions of the meteors going past the space trash, God forbid there was a meteor big enough that it would make not burn up in the atmosphere and make a hit like it did with the dinosaurs. But we would have a running start, because the astrologists, they've got a whole team that has a radar in case there is one big enough. They would be able to say ahead of time, hey guys, there's this meteor on its trajectory and it's gonna hit here in this amount of time. And then they would probably assimilate a bigger team to stop a massive collision that could prompt an extinction. But I was thinking, what if instead of the astrologists doing all the legwork, if you could just start naming pieces of trash in the orbiting Earth and almost create a sphere, much like Jupiter has a giant gas sphere, and it's so big, Jupiter's gas sphere, it deflects most of the meteors, and that's why we don't go extinct as often as the dinosaurs did. Jupiter I wonder if why didn't Jupiter stop the meteor with the dinosaurs? Was Jupiter around back then? Or was it not as big as it is now? So we would be treating the space trash like Jupiter's gas. If you could assimilate the trash as it's moving, perhaps you could engineer a specific shape of a cast mold where it would, upon impact of a giant meteorite coming in, deflect it out. It's possible. Like, you know how you have the ducks in the fair, when you put the ducks inside of the pond and they're going around a pond? If all those ducks were in just the right place at the right time, it could deflect like an oncoming anything. Especially when they get compressed, they can double as like a double jump, a Galilean cannon, if you will. And with all the shapes of the space trash, I'm sure that you could form some pretty interesting Galilean cannons, some of which could be so fine. The construction of the Galilean cannon with the space trash could be so fine that it could deflect a meteor. Well, if you got the surface area of the meteor and it's spinning, you could treat it as though a bug entering a cell wall, how its spikes wrap as it's spinning and then it keeps wrapping more and more, and it might wiggle back and forth until the cell wall tears. Well, you could treat the same way with a meteorite spinning to get the trajectories, and that's your parallel between something that is small, such as the bug infiltrating a cell, comparative to the space trash when it's all compressed together upon a compact impact of a meteor. Well, you've got some fantastic surface area and a great problem where it's probable that you would be able to calculate such a thing if everyone got involved and you started naming trash after anyone who wanted it to be named after a piece of space trash orbiting Earth, which I bet there's some fantastic trash up there. You know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I'm quite interested in exactly what kind of trash is orbiting. You know, I'm actually kind of interested in. So I was banging on a xylophone. Someone took the mallets and I probably should bring one, but I was hitting it with a stick and I felt guilty because I thought I was damaging the property. And there's also like looting and vandalism, where there was a table set up next to a tree so people could climb on the table. It was propped up on the tree. And so with these things, I'm trying to understand the difference between the pursuit of happiness and looting and vandalism and damage of property. But I was hitting the xylophone with a stick, and I felt like I was hitting the railroad, like what John Henry did in order for it to combat a robot. But this was making a noise in a xylophone, and it was great. And I think that all hands-on work can have the same xylophone effect. The test for a system of endearment in the pursuit of happiness. This is done with God, because he's like a good God, and then Jesus, he made it easy so then we have a fighting chance so that the good guy doesn't have to always finish last. That's what the least common denominator difference is, if it is in a suppression or a swamp ran by trolls. So we need to increase our ways of testing things, and this is what you can do to combat something complex like math, the art of it. If the more that you do something that seems bad, it's actually good. Jerry Seinfeld said that. And it's just like where with the more you can make math into art and easy to understand, the stronger it actually is, because then you can get the natural instincts and compulsions of people to get more group work, and more group work means better results. And given that math is just a giant puzzle, it being closely related to art is right up its alley, especially in quantum mechanics, which all higher math is done with physics, and the cream of the crop of physics is quantum mechanics, and this deals with symmetries. And the symmetries are highly related to computer mechanics, because that's how electric waves flow. And telecommunications are So one way I was thinking is that like down south they do watermelon seed spitting, and this is just as the opposite. You would think watermelon seeds are bad because people do watermelon seed spitting. That's an old American tradition, like potato sack racing. But it's just the opposite. You don't need to spit the seeds of a watermelon out because they're high in iron and magnesium and copper. So the more you would think that also with metal, all those metals I just named, that those shouldn't be used in consumption because you shouldn't be eating metal because that's dangerous, like the lead paint. People got so scared because they were ravaged so strongly by getting hurt by lead poisoning from lead paint. I think they got mentally ill and had other extravagant damages. But it's just the opposite. You need a lot of like iron and copper and magnesium. Those are all good elements. Watermelon seeds also have other elements that are good. But these metals that you can consume, you would think it's just the opposite. You shouldn't be eating metal. But yeah, those elements in watermelon seeds are actually why they are good to eat. And with that having like the best kind of seed to eat, because there's 3 of them. Watermelons have black seeds and then they have no seeds. How does that happen? Genetically modifications? Or is there a watermelon that has been made naturally without any seeds in it? I would really like to know that. So there's watermelon seeds are black, white, and then there's ones that are gray and like see-through. See-through in physics is called transparent, or in psychology is transparency. And so those ones are tests where you can see the more clear they are, and kind of like they turn into raisin-like when they start getting transparent. And that's usually in the watermelon when it's old and mushy. And that's like when the fruit starts to ferment, it turns into alcohol, and that's a different molecular transformation. But that's a test that you can run if you're looking at the seed. And a lot of seed leaking is one way of combating AI, because you can start to make the art of looking at good seeds, and that is done through not faking the funk and being able to see the art of the seed, if it is good or bad, because everyone can see the proof in the pudding. And perhaps that's why we're here, is that we have our instinctual ability to read beauty, and that's what robots can't do, and that's why they can't understand jokes or memes on the internet. And so we can do your test on the watermelon and see if it's good or bad based off how good or bad the seeds are. And one thing interesting about watermelon seeds, I was pulling on a plant because I always like pull on plants whenever they have little like berries on them, and one of them has like this seed on it, and it looked just like a watermelon seed, and they came off really easily. Extra shine, allowing for them when they envelope